Let me officially begin. Well, good afternoon. It is 12:02. Welcome, everybody. I am Dingjo Curry, Director of Leadership Institute for Tomorrow, LIFT, here at Cal State Fullerton. On behalf of LIFT and the California Community College Chancellor's Office, I want to welcome you to our first webinar in 2023 and the first Classified Professional and Career Advancement Series. So today's webinar is presented to you with live captions, should you need that. Now, let me tell you just a word about LIFT if you have not engaged with us before. LIFT was first established to serve the needs of community college leadership pipelines. We aim to impact the system of higher education and our communities by developing a new generation of diverse, confident, and competent leaders with change agency to improve community colleges, universities, and organizations into just, equitable, and inclusive institutions, free from racism and thrive in unity. So we're very pleased to collaborate with the California Community College Chancellor's Office once again this year to produce and present these webinars to enhance the diverse pool and capacities of leaders in our system. The 2023 professional development webinars are informed and inspired by classified professionals' own responses to the DEIA Professional Development Needs Assessment Survey that was completed in 2022 last year. So on behalf of the California Community College Chancellor's Office, we want to thank the co-sponsors of that survey, the California Community College Classified Senate, 4CS, and the California School Employees Association, CSEA, for their support and guidance in the design and implementation of professional development for classified professionals in our system. Why is this so important, you may ask? Why? Let me tell you, the classified professionals, in case you didn't know, occupy the largest percentage of personnel that serve our students. And the classified professionals are the most diverse employee groups. So by enhancing and elevating the capacity of our classified professionals, we help our system to thrive in supporting our student success. So our Leadership Institute LIFT is dedicated in promoting future generations of diverse leaders. And we have always had a particular interest, focus, and passion for classified professionals. And I know that many of you are not classified professionals today, perhaps, and we're glad you joined us too, because it is also for you, all benefit. And we hope that if you're in administrative roles, we hope you think about the classified professionals in your future promotions, your future leadership development pipelines. So from the survey, we had a long list of topics, but we had limited time this year. So we're just starting with this list of topics. So out of this long list of topics, we chose to start this year's webinar series on topics of career development today. Today's topic is, where can I go from here? Perhaps some of you or another classified professional you know may think, my job is where I start, and this is where I'm going to end. I'm already thinking about retirement, in so many years, and this is where I'm going. I hope, and we all hope, to shift your mindset just a little bit today by helping you to gain insights into a career mindset and to enhance your career aspirations by learning about the possibilities and to give you a few career navigational mapping skills. So with us today is a wonderful panel to share some wisdom with us. First of all, Liz Dorn Parker, a newly elected trustee of Coast Community College District. Now, we did not select her because she is a current trustee. Liz has spent her entire career as a classified professional, working in the foundation office at Orange Coast College as a specialist. So when she retired from that role about a year ago, she actually started another career in the community college, this time as a trustee. So welcome, Liz.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Next, we have Wyman Fong, Vice Chancellor of Human Resources at Chabot Las Positas Community College District. Wyman's own personal story, if I remember your story correctly, is not so uncommon for many classified professionals who started as a student worker and now a vice chancellor. I won't ask you how many years later, but I know you have more to tell even from your own personal story. So welcome, Wyman, in joining us today.
Thank you, Dingjo, for doing this, and I'm really proud and honored to be here.
Great, thank you. Then our third panelist is Tadael Imiru, Chief Student Services Officer, Cosumnes River College, whose career in higher education also started as a classified professional in Minnesota, working as an advisor for students. So welcome, Tadael. So glad you could join us today.
It's truly a privilege for me to be here.
So I only told you a little bit, and I don't have time to go through their long extended CVs, but it's not hard to see why and how these three panelists will have much to contribute from their own personal experiences to be big supporters for classified professionals. So I'm going to turn to them and start our discussions today. So my first question is, many who serve at the entry level, actually in any industry, see themselves as having a job instead of having a career. So what do you see as the differences between a job mindset versus a career mindset?
I'll go ahead and start, Dingjo.
Thank you.
So kind of everyone thinks of the usual definitions. A job is basic, gets you food on the table, roof over your head. When you're younger, maybe gets you transportation, kind of can pay for some necessities. Where people really think of a career is well beyond. You don't think as much that it's just a minimum, but it's more of a life pathway. That a career is really what picks you up, moves you forward, and has long term. But I'm going to say for classified, as I did, think of the two together. So many of our jobs in our life started out being just the minimum. Like, I'm just going to work. I'm going to become a student employee. I'm just going to go work at this minimum wage job just so I can, help my family or get that transportation that I need to move forward or go to work. But you need to realize that I did is your job many times leads to your career, that it leads to your life passion. Like, for example, for me is during my undergraduate work, I had some enjoyable connected me to community, to leadership, but I left thinking that was just a job. Then when I took my first career job, that was an utter failure. It was not a match. It was not going to give me any fulfillment. I couldn't see a way forward. I went back to my mentor in my job who turned around and said, this is your career. So you have to really, I would recommend a job mindset leads to a career mindset that really can lead to your life passion in your work.
All right.
I think Liz said it all. Jobs can turn into careers with the right mindset and circumstances. And for these careers, they should align with your goals, including finding a sense of purpose, a point of happiness, and what fits with your personality. With that, I've been really blessed, as Dingjo Curry has mentioned. I started as a student worker to an hourly classified, from a clerical assistant to now the Vice Chancellor of Human Resources. I think it's important to know that in your career, we're leaders in whatever we do, and so when I was of the classified service, I saw myself with the support of others in being able to be a leader in my own way. So with this Zoom today, I think we'll go up and down in terms of jobs and careers, and hopefully be inspired and supported by people like my esteemed panelists in terms of how we can support you as you decide what's best for you in your career path.
Wyman, do you mind if I ask you a follow-up question, just based on what you told me?
Yes.
You started as a student and then hourly classified, then the full-time classified. So at which point, if you recall, that you started to think about what you're doing is a career versus a job? When did that happen for you?
I think that happened. There's really very little in terms of programs to prepare you for the next level. So that's why I'm so happy for today. I think when I first was offered a position as an HR manager, I had that self-doubt, can I do this? Am I good enough? And I remember one individual telling me, Wyman, everything is learnable. You just have to know how to deal with people, have great interpersonal skills, and there are people here to lift you up and teach you along the way. With that, I think it helped me to basically, have more confidence in myself. And that's when I thought of, hey, you know what? We can all achieve and we can all dream. And in the end, you're not alone, because there are programs like this that will be there to lift each other up and to support them. I used to be afraid to say, I don't know, right? And I think many of us have that concern or worry that we're just not going to be good enough. But there are people around that will lift us up, that will support us. And that's been my experience. I've been very blessed to have people to lift me up. And for you, Dingjo, you've been an inspiration in terms of me having confidence to do more, to do what I want, and to really be effective and have an impact on our employees and our students.
Thank you for that. You're an inspiration yourself. Last but not least, Tadeo.
Sure. I really want to start out by acknowledging the hard work that all our classified professionals do to support students. I think that's so critical, and oftentimes we don't think about that, but it makes a huge impact, the work that they do. That's why for me, every classified professional, they're in a meaningful career, because it's classified professionals that impact students even before they come to our colleges, while they are enrolled in our colleges, and even after they graduate from our colleges, right? So the classified professionals touch students every step of the way. So that in and of itself is really a career, right? Because they're in positions where they're making meaningful impact on the lives of students. So to me, the idea, the notion that it's just a job, it's really not a job. It is a lifetime commitment, and they're already doing that. So it's really a career. So that's how I would like to really think about it.
Great. And when did that occur to you as well, that you started, I am not a job anymore. Actually, I am on my way to a great career.
Yeah. I'll give you an example. Back in the day when I started as I was an advisor for international students, so I was responsible for not only helping them with the application process, and then also when they got to the college, and move, helping them out with all the steps. So for me, if a student had a question about like the application, it did not stop there. I was also trying to be proactive in terms of being able to be in a position to assist them and anticipate what other questions that they may have, that they were not even probably even thinking about, right? So for me, I had to really think about my job more or less as a career, and also in terms of being in a position to assist students holistically, providing the holistic support. So that's kind of, for me, from the get-go, I really took my role very seriously. And it wasn't limited to the job that I was assigned to do. And I was determined to go beyond that, not because I wanted to be promoted, but because I felt like that was needed to be able to holistically support students.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. From hearing all three of you, I am reminded that thinking about this job mindset versus a career mindset, it's like a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset, isn't it? One is restrictive, where you are is where you shall be forever, whereas the other is that, well, where you are will lead you to wide open space. So if we're going to think about our work with a career mindset, as classified professionals, if you can think and relate to, and you can, because you came from that space, what exactly are the possibilities open to them inside a community college system to build a career? I mean, how realistic are they? Let's be authentic about it.
Sure, maybe I could take a stab at it first, and I'll give an example in student services because that's my area and that's where I started my career, right? And I moved up within student services, but it really starts with believing that the work that we do again is having an impact. It's not about just thinking about becoming an administrator. You really have to believe in your own ability to make a difference first, right? So that's fundamental, right? That's foundational. And then within that, so you have that level of commitment to the work that you're doing, regardless of the role that you were in first, right? Then even within student services, there are plenty of opportunities. There are supervisory level positions that open up. There are director level positions. There are associate dean level positions. There full dean and VP level positions. And I'll give an example. Over the past 3 years or so, just at Cosumnes River College, we promoted classified professionals from classified level position all the way up to a dean, about 5 of them over the past 3 years alone. So, but again, it really starts with believing that the current role that they're in it gives them the ability to be able to make an impact in that they're making that commitment from the get-go, right? So I think for me, I would say that they're real possibilities, and they're real. They're tangible possibilities.
Like that tangible possibilities.
Yeah. I'll go next. I think I like to see possibilities as endless. I think it's contingent on 2 pieces here. One, which is the individual in terms of your passion, the impact you're going to make, and where you want to be, right? What's going to make you happy, as I mentioned earlier. The other is, I think, contingent on the employer. I'm proud of my district, Chabot Los Positas. We've invested in our classified professionals, whether through our classified senate or classified unions. So, for example, we think it's important. We know that our classified professionals are the most diverse, as Ding Jo Curry has mentioned earlier. And so we have a Classified Leadership Institute for Professionals that was created both with our classified professionals and administration. We just recently negotiated with our unions to provide more training, education certificates, opportunities for classified professionals to grow. It doesn't just have to be in your area. As we all know, there's so many different types of positions in our community college system, right? So some positions will be a little easier in terms of having the career ladders, right, to move. Some may be a little more challenging, but I always encourage people to engage in various opportunities at the college to continue to grow and to basically increase the opportunities if they want to move up into another position, whether it's within the classified service management or even faculty.
Wow, both of the other panelists, I think, hit it. One of the things that amazed me is I had a lot of private industry experience. When I got to my job at Orange Coast College, working in the foundation as this development specialist, I was amazed at the variety of opportunities that within that classified role. Many times when you're in other government agencies, it's very limiting. You're either going to do budget or you're going to do this, but when your job is to support students, there's so many pieces of that come into play. And I come from it from my perspective. When I go out and raise money, I look at it as matchmaking. I find what a donor really wants to do, how they want to change the world, and trust me, there's programs, resources, and students that can really use that vision. So when I got on campus and I would work, and I'd walk our 15-minute walk with different classified people, we'd be on committees together. They would begin to talk a little bit about what they wanted to do, how they wanted to improve their lot, what did they want to do for students. So one of the things that really helps with all of these variety, there's almost too much variety, is everyone has a unique talent, different skill set, and different requirements in different jobs. Some are very student facing, some are back office, some are budgeting, some are organizing. Trust me, you name it, if something you love to do, there is a job and there's a career waiting for you there because it's so different. And actually, as we're moving into times where people are a little concerned about the budget, there may be hiring freezes, is actually the best time to begin to do this exploration. A lot of community colleges need to have a hiring freeze, which means these are the wealth of times to begin to talk to your fellow classified, your mentors, different managers, and find out what is the job, figure out what it is that you really love to do. And then ask questions, take them to coffee, go and meet early. Because one of the things that I find truthfully is once you get in a classified role in a particular area, you tend not to, we all do this, where we kind of just think down this same alleyway and we don't realize that there's a road at the end. And there's many different ways you can go, many different buildings you can walk into. But I also have to admit, we have to be brutally honest. See, sometimes you get pigeonholed when you're in a particular college and you started in an area and you have moved up to a Tech 1, Tech 2, Tech 3, but you keep applying an interview for management and they keep saying, gosh, yeah, but can you really do the role? Well, yes, of course you can do the role. So you have to be open really that you might have to leave your college. You may have to go, if you're in a multi-college system, you may have to go to a sister college or a brother college or go into the district offices. I just got, this week alone, I got to be the reference for 2 former colleagues on classified who had to leave the college and they're interviewing for these incredible management positions, one completely out of the area that she was working in, but she had a lot of skill, but no one at our campus saw that skill and had that history because her job while she was college was exactly where she's going, student services. So my advice is if you like the mission, which is serving students, and you love the atmosphere that we did, then you need to really understand the mind-blowing possibilities. And I like what Dean Joe said, it's within you to limit you, but it's within you to expand and work with your colleagues to understand what they do. Figure out what you love. I love working with students. I loved bringing money in. I knew I wouldn't be, sorry, Wyman, in HR ever. It was not my skill set. It wasn't what I wanted to do. It never was going to be there. But your future really is at your hands, and there's so much available that don't limit yourself is what I'm going to tell you. But you may have to leave your site because they might have limited you in their mind.
I'm hoping that our classified professionals, should they want to advance in their own college, on their own campus, in their district, that they don't feel like they have to, right? But I understand as to how realistic, and I asked that question, that is why it's so important that leaders in your role, Wyman, in Tadeo, your role, and now you, Liz, in the trustees role, to really be mindful and ask everyone to be mindful that we have talents right here. Let's not typecast our classified professionals and who are full of skills and capacities and ready to grow, ready to give. So thank you for bringing that up. Now I'm going to ask each of you some questions. Wyman. Okay, now you are the head, the chief of HR now. So I don't know how many years you serve in this role as the chief HR officer of your district, but what have you seen throughout your own career pathways of the pathways of different classified professionals? Is there anything that you can share as excellent examples of career success for classified professionals that you have witnessed? We need some inspirations here. We need some really good success stories that you can share from your experience that you witnessed.
Yeah, I think, let's just start with the premise that we're always being watched, right? So with that, as we want to move into other positions, people hold us to our reputations, our passion, our technical skills, our interpersonal skills. And I think that when I watch any individual move in a direction, those are critical ingredients. I like what our district does in terms of an HR standpoint. We like to promote out of class and interim assignments. I'm so happy right now in our next board meeting, one of my colleagues, a classified professional for 14 years, is going from a counseling assistant to a manager of student services. And we have the same stories with childcare, where there's just opportunities that we like to promote from within when we can, right? And under Title V, you can do that with interim positions and out-of-class assignments. But for classified professionals and the whole thing of career success, I think that's not limited to just a position. It is what you do, right? And the impact you make in your institution. So I'll give you an example. Many of our people in the union went through the Classified Leadership Institute program, right? To develop themselves or to further their leadership skills. I'll name one individual that I'm so proud of, David Rodriguez, our former Classified Senate member, president, who has really done a yeoman's job in terms of bettering the work and efforts of impact of classified service. And now he's also part of the union. So it's taking on leadership positions, which I think you build reputation, you build learning and growth, where you can make yourself much more feasible when it comes to other opportunities within your field, or sometimes you have to move outside of your area. So I've seen a lot of that, and hopefully I'm not mumbling too much, but that's what I would say.
All right. Well, Liz, let me ask you this. I've seen your leadership off campus as well as on campus. And I'm thinking, I'm not sure if this is true, just from your own experience, that this is for me, for example, I've gained more confidence a lot of times when I volunteer in the community. And then I brought that confidence back to thinking about, well, maybe I can, and I have actually gained new skills. I wanted to see if you could share that based on the decades of experiences working as a classified professional, and yet you serve in different roles, leadership roles on and off campus. What made that difference for you in being a classified professional and then seeing yourself as a leader? Because I sense that you've always seen yourself as a leader. You never allow what hat you're wearing limited your own leadership mindset. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I came into classified with serving in these outside leadership roles, which was unique, but you're right. You know, I was fortunate enough early in my adult life to be provided access to educational leadership role. And it was really based on a request that somebody who really didn't have students' best interest not be allowed to just be given this position that's an elected position. And it was a little scary, but no one else was running. So it comes out of a mindset that I need to serve, which goes back to community engagement. And this also mindset that came from my grandparents who are immigrants that were fleeing, their destruction of their life, and that they had to leave their education in 5th grade, 6th grade and never go back. And one of the things that was really drilled in my head was, you have an obligation, if this is your life mission, which is to make the world better, to say yes to opportunities that are scary, that there's nothing you can't do. You ask questions. I loved Wyman. I recognize in the people who came to me said, we will help you. We're here to support you. They became my mentors. So I ended up actually winning that position at 22 years old. And that really shifted my understanding that it doesn't matter what you come into the space with. You really have the ability, if you have the passion and you really understand the role you serve, especially in this community college space, your passion for student success, your work in a higher education system that's open to everybody, that it's really about then shifting your mindset that you don't have to do it by yourself. Even if you're given a stack of papers and say you have to get this done, you can turn to a colleague, or if you're going glassy-eyed as you're trying to get these reports done or meet grants written, and you can call up a friend in classified and say, you know what, my brain's mush. Can you go take a walk with me? And that alone really gives you the courage to not realize that you're stuck. You're stuck at whatever you have to do this moment, but you go back to your passion. And so over time, as I began in my outward roles, working with leaders and philanthropists and other kind of people who have impressive titles, is I began to ask their stories. And I'm going to tell you, everyone started out, other than a very few, as a student employee, or they started out, washing cars. They started out busing, or many times dishwasher. And then you realize that their journey started right where you may be, but that they use their passion and their skills and their opportunities to keep saying yes. Yes, I will go ahead and take on this further responsibility. Or yes, I'm given an opportunity to maybe work a little out of class that is scary, but that it's okay to say you're scared, and it's okay to say, can I come to, who can I ask the questions to gain that skill set? So it was interesting when I came in my critical role at the college as a classified, the reason they hired me was because of all my outside leadership that I had, and that I had decided that I was put in this space to do good and to make the world better for those like my grandparents who arrived, and others in my community. So it became easy for me to work amongst them and to be with them and to begin to have a voice to say, to the CEO of a corporation who, who really wants to make a difference, but she's sitting there, and I'll say, you want to make a difference? Let me tell you about some students and their needs. And it's great that you want to make a difference, but to get there, I had to understand and see them more as my peers, which is really hard as classified. And then when I was hired in my critical role, I began to have connections with my peers. And when I arrived with that same commitment to the students, I began to hear the stories of my classified and fellow peers. And some of them said, well, yeah, but I only greet people at the welcome desk. And then I said, wait a second, but you're the first face. The kindness you just showed, because I would walk in on this person, and I remember hearing their story that they felt very discounted, and it started with them, and then it expanded to their direct report and others. And I watched this person save the student who was so afraid to come in the door. And she walked this person over to the computer, showed them how to do that. That is a leader. And every one of the classified has leadership positions that they serve. They may not think they are. So it's an interesting part that shifted. So then I began to work, and we started a group collaborating, a coffee group that we met on campus to then talk about what skills we had, what they did and how they did that, and to improve their mindset to then support each other. So, and then also give them the courage, sign up for committee assignments, sign up for what you call extracurricular. I know you're going to have a pile on your desk when you get done from that committee meeting, but the connections you make and the confidence you gain, you can't put that in words. You cannot. So I'm going to tell you, each one who's sitting here that it's in classified, you are matter. You and just your role alone is a leadership role. And so you really need to recognize, and I'm going to tell you, have the gift of say yes, and have the gift of recognizing the role and the critical nature you serve to make sure not all our students come to our colleges, but make sure you help them, guide them, and help them get what they need. So that it's an interesting space I was given, and I understand very few people get that at 22. But believe me, I did have imposter syndrome for quite a bit until I recognized who everybody was, and we are all on the same boat rowing with the same oars.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. And though while you're talking, I say yes, but at the same time, I'm thinking, well, maybe some in the audience today say, yeah, but when it applies to me, that's Liz or that's Wyman, that's how they did it. So if that is you saying yes, but I'm going to challenge you to put that but away, except yes, and let's see what's next, right? So I'm going to ask you a question, Tadeo. You've done a lot in inspiring and promoting classified professionals. I have been told that you have a track record for that. So let's hope that is true. And what have you witnessed in trying to promote classified professionals? What are the challenges that classified professionals confront in thinking about the question, where can I go from here? How have many of the classified professionals that you witness overcome those challenges in the mindset of yes, but where can they go from here and how?
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. I do want to say that the individuals that I've had a privilege to mentor and to support, it wasn't just because I was there for them and that I supported them that they got to where they are today. All of them already had a passion. They knew their why, right? And then, which is really important. And that is why they've been successful, right? It's not just because of me. I played a very small role in that. So I would say that I think the most important element of this is really knowing why, because this work is not about us, right? It's not about the person. It's about, what are you willing to do? What's your level of commitment to support students? So do you have the why, right? That's the fundamental, because otherwise it's about the job. If the mindset is about the job or to get the next promotional opportunity to move up to become a dean, not understanding why you want to become a dean or why you want to become a supervisor. If that's not there, if that's the missing element, you're not going to be successful, right? You're not going to bring your authentic self into the role. So, going back to your specific question, there are obviously some challenges, right? And one of the key challenges I would say is that for classified professionals, and I, also struggled with this when I first started my career, is how do you really navigate this complex power structure, this complex organizational structure in order to move up, right? So that's a key challenge, right? And that's why I think it's important for folks to really have a professional mentor to be able to talk to be able to, sort of guide them along the way, because otherwise it's quite complex in terms of being able to navigate that system. And then the other element that I've noticed too is that lack of confidence, right? And again, I've been there, done that. But it's important to think about the fact that the roles that you're in right now, you're the expert. You're on the ground working directly with students. So that amounts to a lot. So as you think about the skill set that you have, most of the time being an administrator level position is not about the mechanics of it or knowing the technical understanding of the work. It's more about how, are you able to really understand the big picture? Are you able to work well with others, right? Are you committed to the work? That's 80% of it. If you have that, are you dependable, right? If you've got that, the technical aspect of anything can be learned. So that's another thing that I've noticed, that folks, as they think about moving up, as they think about their career path, there is lack of confidence about their own ability to be able to move into that higher level position to be successful, but not understanding that they already have that skill set because they're on the ground working with students. And as I mentioned earlier, that having someone to sort of serve in the role of a mentor is very important, to be able to guide them, respond to any questions or concerns that they have. And also, the other key thing with having someone that they could talk to is important to be able to point out and be honest with them, right? So if I'm not doing the thing that I'm supposed to be doing, I have to have someone who could be honest with me, who could tell me the truth, because that is important. It's an important feedback that I need in order to be successful in my career. So we all need that. And another thing that I want to add to is it's also important, and I've seen many classified professionals who would come to me and say, hey, I'm in this role now. I want to go to the next level. And they haven't really even been in that role for quite a while. You really have to be the best in the role that you're in now first, right? because nobody is going to promote someone who's underperforming in the current role that they're in. Right. So it's so important to really think about, because you have that opportunity now to prove yourself. So do really well in the role that you're in order to then advance to the next level. So it's important to take that very seriously. Even if you think your skill set is beyond that, it's important to really do well in the position that you're in. And then I want to go back. The last thing that I want to add to this is, Dr. Parker articulated it very well, in that leadership is not always tied to a title that you have. It's really important to really think about this, right? Because I've been in situations, I've had colleagues before would get in a room in a meeting, and without anyone asking them, they would take notes during the meeting, and then afterwards they would disseminate the notes, right? Without anybody asking them to do that. And to me, that's leadership, right? So you have opportunities, whether it's committee work or other work, to be able to show your commitment to what? Again, to your work, your commitment to your organization, your commitment to support students. And that you could show that in many different ways. So I hopefully I answered the question.
Yes, and thank you for all three panelists answering my targeted question at you. I appreciate that very much. We can open for questions, and you can chat your questions here if you like. While you chat your questions, if you have any remaining time, I just have to reflect on what I heard just now. Tadeo, you were saying, and so important to be the best you can be, right? Leaders are always looking for talents, I know. So when you are good at what you do, that you will be noticed and you will be promoted as well. The second thing that you mentioned, Tadeo, is the mentoring. So I want to give a little plug. We had a session last year aiming for classified professionals to understand about the process of mentoring, how to go about one. So if you missed those webinars, you can actually go back to those webinars on the various topics that will help your career pathways as well. Okay, well, speaking of questions, you're talking about mentoring. I think that's one of the important things. And maybe if you would just give us a little bit tidbit, one advice about a mentor. What, if I'm going to pick a mentor for myself, what would be like one characteristic a person may have that you would target as that person would be a great mentor for me?
And I'll be quick if I could chime in. For me, when I look for a mentor, it's somebody that I trust to be brutally honest with me, right? To point out areas that I need to improve, right? And most of the time, I don't suggest your direct supervisor or your direct dean to serve as a mentor, because there are limitations there. So I would find a different person to serve as a mentor. And to me, the way I look about, when I think about mentorship too, is if I'm mentoring someone, I also think about it as being mentored, because it's a two-way street, because there are things that I learn about that person too. Not just about them, but also there are things that there's skills that I learned from them. So it's a two-way street. It's beneficial for the mentor and the mentees. There's a mutual interest there. But someone who can be brutally honest with me is important.
If I could add, I feel like I'm being mentored with everybody around me. I watch people, I observe the good, the bad, and absorb from that. But what I would recommend is find a mentor also that's outside your own institution, that, as Tadeo said, that could be brutally honest with you. And you have to then be able to accept that brutally honest feedback for you to be better at what you do. Again, this whole program, ironically, this is called Lift, and hopefully we've been able to lift you up. I know this is just a 1 hour initial series, but I'm with Chabot Las Pasillas, Wyman & Fong, and if anybody wants to reach out, please contact me, and I'd be more than happy to support you in your endeavors.
It's interesting. I've found mentors informally first. not sought them out and said, can you mentor me? It's more, we'd have conversations, or I call them hallway conversations, where you're passing and you're saying something like, wow, thank you for bringing this up or helping me. And I suddenly realized informally, they already were asking how I'm doing, how can they help me? And then we started having more formal conversations and asking those brutal questions that you need to hear, but you maybe don't want to hear. So you've already decided you respect this person. They've already shown an interest in you, and that you have some level of, a relationship, whether, and absolutely, Elle is right. It cannot be your direct report. It can't even be direct report, because that really limits the conversations. And so that's where I found my mentors. We've worked together on a project, and I've just realized that they're exactly who I need. They're working in ways and spaces I want to be part of, or they have skills that I recognize I don't have, and that I need to expand my skill base. And so, and then before you know it, you're meeting up. And a lot of times it was my nickel for coffee or my time to go meet them where they are versus where I am. But a lot of my mentors came more informally, and we started with a shared vision. And that's what I'm going to say. That's my mentors. And I've also been asked by people I hardly knew, can you be my mentor? And I'm like, whoa, I don't know you much. So it makes it very difficult to mentor people at that point, to just be asked without having a base of knowledge together.
Right. I tell you what, I'm seeing a flood of questions. I don't know if you are seeing that too, panelists. So there's a lot of interest and a lot of curiosity and a lot of ask, like, how can I, right? So I would like you to, take consideration of the questions that we see, and perhaps meld it into this last question I have for panelists. I'm cognizant of the time we have. That is some advice on navigational skills. Questions about, how do I even get my administration at the college to recognize the importance and the talents of classified professional, right? So on my campus, I'm alone. How do I do this? So can you share some of those navigational mapping skills that you believe would be helpful for classified professionals, and how they could plot out their career pathways, given some of the questions that I'm reading is really about how do I overcome some of those institutional challenges and barriers and mindset, perhaps, of the leaders who cannot see classified professionals beyond their current role. I have a real pet peeve about that, by the way. So I think that is so important to address. Let's see, who's going first?
I guess I'll pop in real quick.
All right.
And it's interesting because one of the themes that seem to be coming up with my fellow panelists and you, Dean Joe, is the limitation in yourself. So one of the things I always encourage people who are feeling very dejected and very like the structure, I like how you said, is working against them. Start with yourself. Start with your joy. What is it about your job you like? What is it about the career you've chosen, which is to be in the community college space? What part of your job do you love? What would give you joy to sort of skip from the car in the parking lot or in the bus to get you in the door? Is it with students front facing? Is it back office? Do you say, I hear people who are in front facing jobs all the time, gosh, I hate when students interrupt me. Well, then you need to think that's maybe not going to give you joy if you look for your career forward, where students, that's your role, is to students have interrupt you. What is it that you like about your work? And then begin to go out of your shell, feel the confidence to begin to find the careers on the campus that match what you love. Do you like working with the athletes? Do you like working in the counseling? What about library services? What about basic needs? So that helps you then guide your navigational of where you focus. The other one is, I always say volunteer. I'm a big volunteer. Volunteer on campus, volunteer if they're having welcome days, volunteer if they have an honors night, volunteer, because that's when you're going to find like-minded people who want to support you and support students, and that brings back joy. And then you can find confidence, as I say it, so that you can together navigate and create your mapping to where you want your career to lead you to.
Great. This is like one of the first life lessons, right? To be successful, you show up. So
I'd like to add, find your voice, right? Be able to speak up, for what you believe is right. For me, we've talked about imposter syndrome and having a lack of doubt or having doubt in yourself. And I've had to learn to face my fears so that they don't control me, right? And they don't control me because I know there's a big network out there of folks that will support me and lift me up. I also am very realistic too, because like Liz mentioned, I shifted from one district to the other because I think I was pigeonholed, right? Dingjo and folks mentioned that I started as a student worker as an hourly classified. And I think it got to a point where maybe it wasn't realistic for people to perceive me as a vice chancellor. And so rather than me getting angry, because that's not going to help you in any institution, is to move to an institution where you can validate yourself and contribute and make an impact. And the last thing I often do is, every 3 years I do an assessment. Where do I want to be 3 years from now? And am I reaching that goal? And to have those mentors out there, a variety of mentors, to be brutally honest with me so that I can grow and do what I enjoy and continue to move forward. So hopefully that is helpful.
thank you, Wayman.
I'll chime in. I'll try to be very quick. Relationship building, positive relationships is critical, right? It doesn't matter with whom, faculty, other administrators, is critical. And the way to build that positive relationship too is that by being dependable, by building your own credibility as one who's dependable and who's committed to supporting students. I think that's critical. The other one piece that I wanted to mention earlier, but I forgot, is that I think it's important for us to think about ways in which you can add additional skill set and experience within the same organization. Give a quick example, right? If you're working, for example, in the records office, right, and you have a position there, are there some basic foundational things that you can learn in terms of how financial aid works? Right. And then that gives you an additional skill set that broaden your perspective. Not only that, but then you're also seen as a dependable individual, right? Who can then not only work within one setting, but also has the experience and expertise to be able to move into another department or another area. So that's critical.
Thank you. I'm looking at the time. You have lots of questions, and what we have done in the past with webinar is that we collect these questions. Some we will answer in the future webinars, and some we'll actually collect answers from our panelists and others, and then we send it to those of you who are registered. So I wanted at this point just ask you to pause and ponder, on your own job right now, and how your job right now links to your own career mindset of where you imagine yourself to be. You could be in a variety of current roles that where you are saying, but I'm just in this role that seems like a dead end. I want you to know that the three panelists today are just three. We have many, many more examples that have risen from the classified professional jobs to wonderful, beautiful, successful career. So I don't know if you're convinced today or not, but do not underestimate the tremendous skills that you already have and the latent potentials that you can uncover to achieve. Yes, there are many obstacles, institutional culture, limiting. We heard some of that today, but we can overcome it. Teta L, Liz, and Wyman are living examples of that. So you may see them who they are today and never could have pictured where they started. So I can imagine that to be true for you too. So never, ever let your current job be the stopgap of where you can go and that what you can become. So at this point, I would just like you to help me and thank our wonderful panelists today. I want to thank the Chancellor's Office and our LIFT teams in the joint planning and execution of today's webinar. So in the chat, you will see the link for the evaluation and feedback. So please, please take just a minute to fill out that evaluation and feedback for us, because your feedback is extremely valuable for us so that we can help you. We can plan this better and help you gain some more understanding, information, and aspirations to chart out your own careers. We need and appreciate your feedback. And we'll hope you'll continue to join our webinars. Now, there's a question, for example, like how can you become a dean from a classified professional? We will help guide you through that in these webinar series. So we have quite a few lined up of 4 webinars for spring semesters. Mark them on your calendar and register for them now. So for example, our next one on Friday, March 24th, how can I become a professorate, right? There's a question about how to become a dean. Well, that would some of the answers shall be revealed then to give you some pathway. So you can be a faculty too, should you have that desire. We're not saying that you need to be or you should be. Should you want to be, if you've thought about that, then we have lots of information for you. So we'll talk about some of the pathways and secrets of the trade. So I want to thank you for attending today, and we will see you next month. Thank you, my dear panelists. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.